Okay, so like I said, in this lesson I'm gonna do a random and a for loop. I'm gonna explain how both of those work and how you can use them together to do a bit of repetitive tasks. Okay, so first up, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna explain the random, how it works. Okay, so if we have a question like this one, where it says random 10 whole numbers between 1 and 6, then basically just what it means is for 10 times or 10 numbers, what whole means, it's like just a whole integer, so without any decimals. We are just gonna random number, so between 1 and 6, any number between that range. So if I ask you a random number between 1 and 6 without thinking, you can just quickly say 4 or 2 or 3 or 1, 6, etc. So we're gonna actually write code that are gonna help us to automatically display a number like that. The display that we are gonna be using is gonna be the rich edit display here on the right side. Okay, so we're gonna enter the first button and then we are gonna start. So first off, we're gonna need one variable which will contain our random number. So let's create a variable and let's just call it maybe rent. Okay, obviously it is whole number, so this variable will be of data type integer. Okay, the next step what I'm gonna need to do is, this is just learning work. The first thing is I'm gonna write randomize. Okay, before we do the coding part, I'm gonna quickly explain how random works. Okay, so what we are always gonna need is we're gonna need a variable. Just hold on 1 second quickly. So what I was saying is the first thing we're gonna need is a variable. I'm gonna set that equal to whatever I'm gonna random. Okay, now to say, okay, now cool, I've got my variable, I want to put the random into that variable, but how do I random? Okay, many people get it confused with randomize. So randomize is the first statement you just write inside your coding where you want to randomize it. You are actually gonna write random. Then if you control space it, you'll see it automatically creates 2 brackets for you. Okay, inside this brackets you are gonna write your highest minus your lowest plus 1, and then outside of the brackets you're just gonna write plus lowest and then your semicolon. Okay, I'm gonna give an example of this. So let's say we want to random let's use our variable rand is equal to, gonna write random inside the brackets. Let's say we want to random something between 1 and 5, so we're gonna write what's the highest. Our highest in this case is let me just write here 1 to 5. So in this case our highest is 5 minus our lowest, which is 1, and then plus 1, and then outside we're gonna plus our lowest, which in this case is 1. Okay, another example, if we have random between, let's say 6 and 12, or no, 6 and 14, we're gonna have our variable is equal, then again random, have our brackets, our highest, which is 14, minus our lowest, which is 6, plus 1, and then on the outside plus our lowest, which is 6. Okay, alright, so what we're gonna let me quickly write this a bit more out. Okay, so if we have this one, random is equal random. Okay, what it actually means is, what is 5 minus 1 will be 4, plus 1 is 5, and then starting at 1. Okay, so it's gonna start at 1, which will be the initial one or the lowest, and then it will random within 5 characters of that lowest one. Okay, same as this one. if we've got our rand, we've got our random, okay, then we've got our lowest, which is our highest, which is 14 minus 6, which will be 8, and then plus 1, which will be 9, and then obviously starting at r 6. Okay, so what does this mean? It means it's gonna look at the lowest one, which is 6, and then it will random 6 and 9 others. So we're gonna start at 6, and 6 will be the first one. Okay, so if 6 will be the first one, then it's gonna go on for 8 more, because 6 already takes 1 spot. So this 9 just means for 9 numbers, but 6 will be included. Okay, so basically I'll show you what this 9 means now, but you're gonna look at the lowest, which is 6, and you're gonna write it down. Then it's gonna go 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so where will it stop? So we're gonna look at this part, because it says 9 and 6 will be included. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, you see 15 is not included. So that is basically the theory behind what we write in this bracket. You don't really have to know this, it just will makes it understandable. But if you just learn highest minus lowest plus 1 plus lowest, you will always be able to figure out what to do. Okay, so just to explain this one a bit more further, why there's 5 inside the bracket. Okay, so remember I said random between 1 and 5. So we've got inside the brackets it equated to 5 plus 1. So we're gonna start at our lowest, which is 1. So it's gonna be 1 comma, and then you see here it's 5. So I'm just gonna write it out: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. Okay, it will not do all of this, but this is just to quickly show you. Okay, then 5 numbers will be included, and 1 also. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You will see the range is like we said here at the top. Our range is 1 to 5, and that just means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know this is correct, and obviously it will not even consider the rest, it will just do the first. Okay. Any questions of this? So like I said, I'm going to carry on. I'm going to random first just one whole number between 1 and 6, and then I'll do the random 10 part using for loops. Okay, so how do we gonna do this now? Okay, so we are gonna say our variable, which is rand, is equal to random. Then we will have our highest. So in this case it is between 1 and 6, so our highest will be 6 minus our lowest, which is 1, plus 1, and then outside the brackets plus our lowest, which is 1. Okay, pretty straightforward. Okay, we've got our randomizer here at the top, and we kept to the same structure as the one in the example, and then we obviously need to display it. So we're going to use our red display. Let's first clear it. Actually, I'm just going to do it beneath the randomize. I'm going to red display dot lines dot clear, just to clear my reach edit. And then here where I want to display it, I can just say lines dot add. Inside the brackets, what do I want to add? I want to display my random, but we just need to remember the data structure is integer and we want to display it into a string, so we just need to say into string and then display our rand. Okay, then you can run it and you can see if it works, if there's no errors. Okay, you will see. So if I click on this button, you will see it just creates random and it stays in the range 1 to 6. Every time I click it, it can be a different number, same number, just how it randoms. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna give you like 2 seconds to quickly copy this down. Okay, so to complete this question, like I said, we can go and copy this line because we need 10 whole numbers. You can go and copy that line 9 more times so that you have this coding, and if you run it, you will see it does in fact work. Okay, so you get 10 random numbers between the range of 1 to 6. Okay, but this whole way is a bit redundant. Okay, so to make this shorter, instead of having to copy paste, so let's say for example they ask you for 100 whole numbers between a range. So now you actually have to go and copy that 2 lines of code 100 times. Okay, so that is a bit the long way to do it is this way. So how can we shorten it? We can shorten it by using a for loop. Okay, so how do we use a for loop? Okay, so we're gonna call a for loop by simply typing for. If we hold down control, press space, you will see there is called a template. You just click enter and it will automatically fill this whole thing for you in. Okay, so you'll have an for I, so you can leave I as is. I will be your counter. I'll explain how I works in a second. You will see after the is equal there is a 0, so we want to change the 0 to our lowest one. So if the question is 10 whole numbers, we want to start at 1, and then for how many or to where, so to 10. Okay, this I will, if it starts, it's gonna start at the first value, so it will be 1 the first time the for loop is gonna run. Then it's gonna go through the coding, it's gonna loop up to the top. I will increase by 1, which then will be 2. It's gonna do the coding, loop to the top, and then until I is 10, then it's gonna loop once more, and then if I becomes 11, it's gonna stop. Okay, just a simple explanation of this. I'm gonna do the coding now. You will see if your I is underlined in red and it says here at the top undeclared identifier I, you just have to go to your variable section of coding where you've got an integer, just add your I. Okay, so just declare the variable. Okay, then you'll see inside your begin and end, now you can just take this 2 lines to random number, you can just cut it, you can paste it into the begin and end of the for loop. Okay, so like I said, how this works is the first time the for loop runs, your I will be the first value, which is 1. It's kind of like a counter. So then it's going to go through the coding, it's going to loop up, and then I will increase by 1, so then it will be 2. It's going to do the coding, loop up, then I will be plus 1, then it's 3, so then it's going to do the coding 4, do the coding 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then once again you will have 10. It's going to do the coding, and then once it is reached 10, it will stop. Okay, so that's just basically how you're just going to loop and loop and loop and then get your 10 random numbers. So now we can test it by simply just running this program. If we click on 10 random whole numbers, we will see, there we go, it works. Okay, another way which you can use a for loop to actually see how it works is if I've got my for I, let's say 1 to, or let's change this, let's say 5 to 10 do, and then I've got my begin, and then I'm just simply going to display my I. So let's just have a red display dot lines dot add, and then I'm going to display my I. So I, again, it's an integer, I want to display it into a string, so I would say into string, and I would display my I. Okay, so now you can actually see it a bit more practical. So what I did here is only displayed my I, or the counter, so it's going to start at 5, and thus my first number here is 5. Then it's going to loop and do the coding, so it's going to display it, then I will become 6. Then it's going to go through the coding, display I, which is then displayed here. It's gonna go to the top over here, then I will become 7, it's gonna come and display 7, and then it's gonna loop again until it reaches 10, and then obviously the coding says to display 10, it's gonna display 10, and then it will be out of this range, so the for loop will stop, and then it will continue on with the coding. Okay, so that's just how this I basically influences the numbers and how you can use it. So now I'm gonna just implement this I that I displayed with my number. Okay, in order to do that, I'm just gonna quickly remove the comments I made here for this for loop. Okay, I randomed my number, but now I basically want to say the first number is this random, the second number is the second number random, etc. So what I can do is at the beginning I can just say into string, I display my I, then I can just have a plus sign in two quotation marks. I can add a full stop and a space, and after the quotes I can just have another plus. So this will then basically tell me, okay, the first random number is then whatever is random, then it's going to loop, then I will be 2, so it's going to display 2, and so forth. Okay, so if I run it, I'll just show you a bit what I mean. So if I click this number, you will see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on the left side is my I, and then on the right side 3, 4, 4, 5, 1, that is the numbers that were randomed. Okay, so that is basically the randomize and the for loop. Okay, so I'm gonna do a few with you. Okay, and let's skip to between. Okay, let's do this one first, the random 10 real numbers between 0 and 1. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is first of all create a variable. So it says a real, so that means a double. So I'm gonna create a variable, and I'm gonna give it the data type of double. Okay, inside my coding, again, I want to say randomize. Okay, next up, I want to say my reach edit. I want to clear all the lines, and then I want to begin with my for loop. It says random 10 real numbers, so it's going to be again for I 1 to 10 do, and then I'll press enter. You will see sometimes my I is automatically created here at the variable section. Sometimes it's not. It will give you an underlined I, give you the arrow here in the left top side. That means you just have to go create it. In this case it created it automatically for me. So then I can go and write my begin and end. Between that I want to actually now random the number. So I'm just gonna say ran is equal, I'm gonna have my random, but now the tricky part is it says between 0 and 1. Okay, how this one works, and I'm gonna show you why I'm doing this one first, is what we're just gonna say is random without anything in it. Then we're gonna quickly just run it, and if you click on this button, okay, I need to display, sorry, got to display, so let's just reg display.lines .add, and then okay, so this is now a double, so we want to float to string this one, and then we want to just display our ran. Okay, so now if we click on the button, you will see it actually displays 0.16. It has a decimal displayed, but again I didn't put anything into the brackets. Okay, so this statement random with empty brackets just mean it is gonna display a random number between 0 and 1. Okay, so you do not put in a highest minus lowest or whatever, it's just straight up random round brackets, but it needs to be empty, and that will just randomize a double between 0 and 1. Okay, so that basically answers this question. So random 10 real numbers between 0 and 1, and that is just yes. Okay, so the next one now, where it says random 10 real numbers between or random real numbers, 10 real numbers between 50 and 100. So that means you want a number, and real means with a decimal. So 50, 10, 99, 2, 55, 199, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Okay, so that is what real means. So we're going to open this one. I'm going to stick to my creating variables. So first of all, I'm going to create a random which is of double. Just remember your var at the beginning. Okay, then I'm going to simply say, okay, cool, and now I'm going to randomize. So I'm going to write my randomize out. I'm going to say red display dot lines dot clear. Okay, then I'm going to begin with my for loop. So I've got my for I. Where do I want to begin? Okay, so this one, it said, oh, it's 10 again. Okay, so easy. So 1, 2, 10. Then I'm going to write my begin. Okay, here you will see what I talked about. This time it didn't recreate my I, so I'm just going to go up. I'm just going to say I is of data type integer. Just like that. Okay, then inside my begin and end. Okay, between 50 and 100. So I'm going to have my rand variable is equal to random. So my highest is 100 minus lowest is 50 plus 1, and then plus my lowest is 50 again at the end. Okay, so what this will do, it's gonna random a number between 50 and 100. Okay, but the problem is I want a double, I want a decimal. So let's say this gives me a number of 60. It generates a number of 60. So all I have to do now is I just have to go and say, okay, plus random with empty brackets, and that will give me a number between 0 and 1. Okay, so then it will then become 60 plus let's say 0.36659 or something like that. So our ultimate answer will then be 0.036659, and that is basically how you get a decimal number. So we've got our normal random, and then our plus our random square round brackets empty, and then it's basically gonna say 60 plus whatever the number between 0 and 1 is random, and then it's going to be added together, so we're going to have a number like this. Okay, so in this case all I have to do now is here, after the plus 50, the smallest, I'm just going to say, okay, again, plus random. Then I'm going to leave the brackets open, and all we have to do now is display. So I'm going to have my red display dot lines dot add, and then I just want to display my rand, but my rand is a double, so I'm going to need a float to string, and then just display my rand. So now if we test it, you will see random 10 real numbers between 50 and 100. If I click on it, you will see the numbers like this. Okay, so you can see there's a big difference. Whole numbers is integers, real numbers is double. Okay. Okay, so for the random 15 whole 3-digit numbers. Okay, I've got my randomize, I've got my reach edit display.lines.clear, and then I can begin with my for. So I'm gonna have my for loop 1 2, in this case it's 15, and I'm gonna have my do begin. Okay, now I need to actually go random numbers which have 3 digits. Okay, so with my numbers, where does my 3-digit numbers start? Right, so 3 digits, our lowest is 100, our highest will be 999. So now we just have to know, okay, so that is going to be our random range. So our highest will be 999, lowest will be 100. So now we can just put it into our formula and we will be good to go. So our rand is equal to random, our highest, which is 999, minus our lowest, which is 100, plus 1, and then plus our lowest, which is 100 on the outside. And then we can just say red display dot lines dot add, and we can display our rand. Okay, just remember rand is an integer, so we just want to display into string and display our rand, just like that. So now if we run this program, we can see, if we click on random 15 whole 3 digits, you will see all the numbers we randomed are 3-digit numbers. Okay, and 15 of them. Easy as that. Okay, so that is our randomize, our for loop, and then just a bit of how do we get our whole numbers, how do we get real numbers, and how do we get, if they say something like 3 digit, 2 digits, and so forth. Okay.